My name is Joe Dalton, entrepreneur and business coach. Welcome to Breakthrough Brands. Each week we bring you an inspirational story and an insight to the minds of some of the top business leaders, authors and mentors from around the globe. Whatever is needed to make you shine in life and business, you'll find it here.
On this week's show, we have Dr. Nilda Perez. Dr. Nilda Perez is a Foresight business strategist, futurist, and entrepreneur. She delves into the trends that shape the future of companies. Her aim is to prepare thought leaders that desire to position their organization of any size for the future. She is the founder of the Foresight Strategies Group and Academy. Her passion is to equip entrepreneurs, businesses, and organizations with foresight strategies that will ignite innovative ideas and position them to disrupt the status quo in order to lead in their industry and beyond. This will ensure a sustainable future.
If you wish to reach me about any of the topics covered in this episode or any other episode, you can get me on WhatsApp 086 821 0037 or email joe@jdc.ie or follow me on LinkedIn under Joseph Dalton. I also need your help to spread the word. If you could please take 2 minutes to share, like or make a comment on this episode, I would be truly grateful. Welcome to Breakthrough Brands, everybody. And just before we kick off the show, I want to give a big shout out to Amanda Delaney. Amanda says, great show. She loves listening. And also I want to speak to Keith Dalton. And Keith Dalton shares some very good information, great interviews. Thanks, folks, and keep them coming in. All your requests and all your information is really helping us here in the studio. So, Nilda, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am brilliant. And I'm excited to have you on the show because there's a lot of talk about what's the future for everybody in business, and you are a futurist.
Yes, I am.
Let's talk a little bit about how you came to be a futurist.
Okay, so I became a futurist because about 12 years ago, I decided to go back to school because I was a coach and I had all of a sudden I got an influx when the economy changed in I think it was 2018. There was an influx. I started getting an influx of people coming to me for business, and because my business was doing well and it was thriving and people saw what I did, a lot of people started coming to me. A lot of baby boomers, and they were coming to me because they were losing their jobs. They were professionals. Had done very well in their careers, but they were losing their jobs. So as a result, they were like, okay, so what do I do now? I'm still a professional, young enough to work, have children in school, old homes, cars, and what do I do? So at that point, I started helping them, trying to help them as best I could. Now, business coaching was not really my forte, so I was reading a lot. I decided at that point to go back to school for a business degree. And when I went for my interview, I learned about this new track that was called strategic foresight. And I was fascinated. So I started asking more questions. And lo and behold, I was there in that interview, right from that interview, without any, they didn't have transcripts. I had not taken my GREs yet. I was accepted to the doctoral program, the Strategic Foresight doctoral program. So that was my introduction to foresight. But from then, it's just been a whirlwind of just amazing things that have happened as a result of that.
And when did this kick off? You mentioned there 2018.
Well, I went back to school. It was 2009. I finished school. I finished my doctoral program, dissertation and all. I finished my doctoral program in 2013. And, but I was already using foresight for 2 years because as I was in school, it was like hot off the press. I was learning things and I was helping my clients in their businesses with the foresight strategies and how to apply it to their business. What are the things that they need to look at? How do they analyze trends? where do they go from that place?
And there's a question, like, how do people analyze trends? Where do they go to find them?
At one time, doing any kind of research or trying to get any kind of information meant you spent at least a day in a library. But today, with the internet, you just have to find reputable sites. So we teach people how to find reputable sites and how to gather this information. The information is, you have to look for things. You want to look at what are the trends in your industry. You also want to look across industries, because sometimes there are things that are happening in other industries that can actually bring an industry down. One of the examples that I can give you is search engines. Search engines have put a lot of businesses out of business because, like, telephone directories are no longer necessary.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that were very thriving businesses, and because they weren't paying attention across, not only in the industry but across industries, they were literally put out and sideswiped. They didn't even see it coming. And so that's what I do as a futurist. I help people understand those trends. Where do they look? What are the things that they look for? And then we start building scenarios. So it's a lot more intricate, but it's definitely where you begin.
It's interesting. That's like helicopter pilots are finding it difficult because drones are taking over a lot of the work.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And those drones are also they're putting the postal service out of service. So mail. I mean, so this is what I'm saying. Nobody realizes, and I think people are becoming more aware now. But even 5 years ago, people were not aware that not only do you look at, the future of your industry, but you also want to be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. So there is one of the things that we use, one of the analytic tools that we use is STEEP. And STEEP basically means you want to be very aware of social, cultural, technology, the economy, environment, and political. Because all of these external forces really have an impact in your business. Sometimes it's a positive impact. Sometimes it's a negative impact. However, it is an impact.
It's like back in the 80s. Dwayna Curry, I'll have to check that. She mentioned that eggs were unsafe to eat, and it decimated the whole UK egg-producing industry, wiped it out overnight.
Yes.
So you have to be
Yes.
very careful of what you say out there as well.
Yes.
Well, and what industries do you specialise in?
Well, my specialty is helping businesses. So futurists, they have, futurists work in different industries. There really are not a lot of futurists. I think last count was something about maybe like 350, 400 in the world. But there's specialties in different areas. What I do is that I help businesses. So I do what I've coined as business foresight strategies. So I help businesses understand their environment, their industry, the future of that industry, the opportunities that can seize. And then, as I said, then it's a whole process. We do that. We look across industries. We look at things that can impact them. And then it just builds. We start creating different scenarios. What are the possibilities? What are the probabilities? But it all begins with looking into that horizon. If you're not looking at the horizon, if you're not looking way out, it really is difficult because you're making decisions with very limited knowledge.
It's interesting because, companies, a lot of people, they're only looking to see what's happening, in the next 3 months, and they should be looking what's going to happen in the industry in the next couple of years. And you're right, they can't see that foresight or not willing to see the foresight. And are you like a doctor? So you go into a company and go, okay, tell me what's happening, which is at the moment, and then you go do an analysis, the diagnostics, talk to them, the works, and then have you ever come back to a company and go, okay, our analysis that we've looked at, and we've looked at the future for your business, and the future that we see in your business is that you're screwed and you better start changing and re-equipping everything, because in 2 years down the road you're going to be out of business.
I did. I'm going to be very honest with you. I had a company that after we did, the analysis, and, they called me in and they wanted me to come and do some consulting. And, I went through the whole foresight, and I was really looking at the trends and looking at the way that they were doing business, which is how they were doing business for 25 years very successfully. I need to add that. They were very, very successful for 25 years. However, things are changing.
Yeah.
They're changing rapidly, and these changes have no mercy on anybody, right? And so as I was doing that, I explained to them, at the end, the final analysis was, I sat with them and I said, look, if you don't make these changes here, here, and here, and I told them the areas, and I said, and the reality is that you have the key people right in this company. You don't even have to hire out, because you have, like, this person can handle this person can handle this, because they had a very intelligent, a very brilliant staff that went far beyond what they were doing there. Like, they knew a lot more than what they were doing in the company. The company was not seizing that, though, as an opportunity. And very long story short, I said to them, if you do not do this, within 5 years, your company will be closed. I said, you will be closing your doors forever, because you cannot survive the way that you're making, the way that you operate. And the CEO was very honest and said, look, we've been doing this for 25 years. We know what we're doing. The economy will change. Things will go back to normal. I said, the economy will change, but the normal that will never be again. Here's the scary part.
Yeah.
5 years to the day, they shut their doors forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's the life cycle of a business, they say, is 30 to 33 years. And the reason, because of the people that started the company, the founders are the ones with the passion. They sort of get out of a company after that because they've come of age to retire. And then that's when the company starts having difficulties and everything as well. But I think the secret with yourself is you go into a company and go, right, if you want to have longevity, you need to take these major steps. Would you agree that it's not the smaller startup companies that have the problems? It's the companies that are in business 20 to 25 years. And my second part of that question as well, do you think they are the companies that are the most difficult to convince that they have a problem?
No, honestly, no. Companies that have been, when a company has been in business 25, 30 years, most of the time, the CEO has retired, and it's usually either the children or, it's been bought out.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much, although it's an established company, you're pretty much working with new people. What I find more, and I come from a behavioral health background, it's more personality. So startups or businesses that have been in business for a while, it really has everything to do with the leader. If that leader is open to change, if that leader is open to correction, and correction is not necessarily a bad thing, but that they're open to making the necessary changes, looking at things objectively, not being, I want to say, married to their idea, but be willing to serve their customer, whatever it takes, then that's the company that's going to thrive. But it really has nothing to do with it being a startup company or a seasoned company. It really has everything to do with the leaders of that company and how open they are.
It's like breaking past the ego, really, isn't it? There's,
Yes.
a lot. I've noticed when we would do consultancy with certain companies, we have to first convince the CEO to delegate. And the reason being because they want to try and do everything. And the only way a company can thrive if they learn how to delegate and hire people that have the skills, or identify the people that have the skills in the company that they give the work to.
Exactly. And being able to share the wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
The companies that have done very, very well and thrive are those companies where the CEO says, you know what, we have a problem. And they throw that problem in the middle of the conference table and said, and tell everyone, I need to understand, I want your perspective on this. I want your perspective. And getting it from not only different staff members, but different disciplines to be able to solve that problem. Those CEOs that need to have their fingers in everything and need to have take the credit for everything, they're going to struggle. It's inevitable. They're going to struggle. And again, with the way things are changing, the lifespan of businesses used to be 30 years. But I think with the changes, the lifespans are going to be a lot shorter. They're going to get shorter and shorter unless you're in that, treadmill of change and open to change and open to improvement. Because change is not a bad word, which is what I keep telling people. It really isn't. It's not a 4-letter word. People are very intimidated by change. But if you make change part of the culture, oh my goodness, your business would just...
I think you're spot on there, and we'll address that in a second. I'm just going to take a short break. Are you looking to boost your performance, motivate your sales team, have an all-round structure to your marketing? Get in touch with myself at Breakthrough Brands or contact me at joe@jdc.ie. Nilda, we were talking about change just before the break, and I just wanted to get into that with you as well. You're spot on when you say that change isn't a dirty word or a bad word, but a lot of companies fear change. Is that because of the unknown?
I think human nature is creatures of habit. And I think that's probably the worst thing because, again, change is not a bad word. If we become comfortable with change, and change is as simple as improvement, whether that's personal or in your business or as a parent, whatever area you're in, the best thing you do is be open to change because change is improvement. People don't like change because we're creatures of habit because we don't have to think.
Yes.
When you're doing something the same way day in and day out, you don't have to think. And change means thinking. It means it's a challenge and it's a daily challenge. So the more people are more comfortable with doing less.
Well, that's it, because people want an easy life. People want people to do things for them. So if you can go in and go, look, we'll do this for you, they'll probably go, okay. Because if you ask them to change and they have to do the work, a possible procrastination will kick in. They'll listen to you, but they won't do anything about it. And there's where the issue is. So after you tell people what they need to do you help them do it, or do they just go off and do it themselves?
Well, I come in and I consult and I show them what to do. Oftentimes they need me to come in and coach them through it. Especially all of the leadership, until they become comfortable with the change. So I come in and I'll do, I can do like monthly trainings for the staff. I work very closely with their leadership staff, managers, or all of their leadership staff. So until it just becomes habitual, and then I can walk away. But in the beginning, and I understand that it's difficult because it's something that they're not accustomed to. So it can be a daunting task until they become comfortable. Yeah. So it depends on the individual. And then there are those that, take the information and they're off to the races. They're ready to go. It's no question. So it really does depend. It really does depend on the individual. It depends on the culture of the company.
And tell me then, what is the future for futurists like yourself in industries? Have you done an analysis on your own business?
Yes. Well, futuring is becoming, because of the changes, people are going to become very fearful. And I think we see it already, where they have us come in because they're like, oh my God, everything is changing so quickly. Can you help? So I think people are going to, we're already seeing it in our industry where people want this information. They want to know, what do I do? How do I prepare? I've worked so hard in my company. I've, my house, I put an equity on my house to keep my business or to start my business. I can't afford to lose it. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so they come to us oftentimes in that area of panic. But once we start working with them, so I believe that there is, and not only do I believe, but I see it. I see the change, and there's going to be a lot more focus on futuring and how people can position themselves for the future in their business.
You going in and you're educating them. Are you showing them new tools? Are you teaching them on marketing? Are you teaching them on sales? Or are you getting them to have a different way of analyzing the business and a new way of strategizing for people out there can really understand what the process is and how you help them?
Okay, so we come in and we help them first understand their industry, understand the potential that there is for changes. So when we're coming in and we're looking at the trends, the first thing that we're looking for is opportunities and threats. Threats are, I was listening to a podcast. This was a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was saying that there was this man who would always get tomorrow's edition of the newspaper, and as a result of that, he was always prepared for tomorrow. He made all the necessary changes for whatever the future brings, and the future was tomorrow.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what we do. We come in and we help them with that. But you see, when you are seizing a new opportunity and when you're avoiding a threat, so now you're prepared that if that happens, that's not going to happen to you because you already know that there's a potential for that threat. So you're going to avoid it, right? This is the reason why we listen to the forecast in the morning. All right, I better bring an umbrella because even though it's sunny in the morning, it's probably the potential of it raining this afternoon or getting colder is pretty good. So I'm going to take an extra sweater and I'm taking my umbrella. So that's pretty much what you're doing in your business. So when you know that there's a threat, you're going to avoid it because you're going to be prepared. We're also looking for opportunities. When that happens, the marketing has to change because now you're seizing opportunities. You're making changes. So that changes the whole demographic of your marketing. So we have a marketer, my CMO helps businesses like that. When I'm done with my portion, she comes in and she helps them with re-strategizing their marketing. And so it's futures marketing. She comes in with that, taking all of that into consideration. These are the changes that we have to make in your marketing. So there's a whole component, but marketing is very much a part of it because once you've made these changes, you're going to have to market differently.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's like a lot of companies now, it's all about social selling, and there's the big debate between inbound and outbound and reach out. So it's very simple, but I think people make it very complex and make it very scary.
It's not, the internet is awesome and it's horrible at the same time because there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pieces of information, and then with that, there's a lot of holes in information. That's one of the things that we teach is you can't just go on the internet and then take everything for this is the way this industry is going at face value. Who is this person? How do they know this? Where do they get this from? So we look for reputable sites. We look, so there's a lot that goes into, you getting information. You can't just go online and take things at face value because you're not getting the full picture. You really have to know who this information is coming from. What value is this to you? And is this an urgency? Is this something that we need to take care of right here, right now? Or is this something that we can make these small changes over time? And the marketing goes right along with that.
Yeah.
So the marketing goes evolving simultaneously.
And then I think when you sit down with people and show them, A, B, and C, they make their decision on an emotional feeling from the information you've given them.
Right. And we try to avoid the emotional feeling. We try to give them as many facts as possible. These are the facts. These are the things that we need to take into consideration. These are the things that are an urgency. These are the things that are not an urgency. So we also help them categorize, prioritize. What are the things that need to be addressed immediately? What are the things that need to be addressed over time? What are the changes? And we help them create an evolution of change. And that evolution of change is coupled with their marketing.
Okay, 2 questions I'm going to ask
Sure.
you. One, what's your opinion of the future for artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is here to stay. There is no doubt. That's going to be an absolute. However, it's not going to take every job over.
No.
Despite what people think, we do, humans crave human interaction. And that is the one thing that artificial intelligence doesn't give you, and we need. So the positive is that, yes, absolutely, it's here to stay. But it's going to be I'm not even going to say a substitute, but it's going to be hand in hand, is going to help the humans do their job. Some jobs will absolutely not need human, interaction, but areas such as customer service, coaching, counseling, marketing, you need a person. And people who think that they can automate everything are sadly mistaken. And that's gonna not only impact, it's gonna hurt their revenue and their business.
Yeah, I think you have to embrace it, because it's going to help some companies and some industries. It is going to take over some industries. And the second one, automotive industry, future for that.
The future of the automotive industry is amazing. That automotive, I think there's going to be driverless cars.
Yeah.
That's a given. I think there's a lot of things that have to take place before they can actually make that a reality. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration, but that's going to happen. That's going to happen, and I think that's a positive thing.
I think it is, but I think that what's going to happen of it is it means that there's going to be less accidents.
Yes.
So that's the insurance companies. Then you're going to have the automotive panel beaters, or they're going to be affected as well. I think with you'll then be able to maybe jump into a car, order a car, and it'll arrive down the road. So will people purchase cars, or will everybody be just ordering cars to go from point A to point B?
That's going to take a while, because I think first people have to become comfortable with it. So I think that people will, eventually people would purchase a car and it'll still be a driverless car.
Taxi drivers will be gone.
That taxi drivers will probably be gone.
And bus drivers, and probably long haul freight truck drivers.
Well, but the reality is that that's the negative, right? A lot of these people will be losing their jobs. The positive thing is there's going to be a lot less accidents. Things will get there safer. So there's a lot that still has to be taken into consideration. There's still a lot of research that has to be done to make sure that that's going to take, before that comes to fruition, there's a lot that has to be considered. And all the powers that be will make sure. But although that sounds like a negative, all these people losing their jobs, the positive is that new jobs will be created.
Yeah, and that's it. Something happens and something new is created. There's new industries starting all the time. We're coming into the end of the show, so I'm going to ask you a couple of more questions. One, what's the best business advice that you've ever received?
Be open to change.
Best business book that you would recommend for people to read?
Wow, I have so many. Oh my goodness, I have so many. Well, let's see. Good to Great is one of the most awesome books I've ever read.
Okay.
I love that book. There are so many. And then I do a lot of reading on futures.
Okay.
And futures thinking and how to, and all of this, honestly, all of this mindset is the mindset that you need for business.
Yeah, creative.
Yes.
Let the juices flow.
Yes, and be open to change.
Give us your details where if people want to reach out, have a conversation with you or check out your website. Give us your company email address and your company website.
Okay, my company website is Foresight, FORESIGHT, Strategies Group.com. That's strategies, IES. And then my email is Nilda at foresightstrategiesgroup.com.
And people can hook up with you on LinkedIn, on Facebook as well, on Twitter?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all of the social medias.
And you do a weekly radio show as well.
Yes.
And where can people find that as well? Will that be linked on your website?
Well, if they go to my CV, which is my, actually it's my V card, they go to drnildaperez.com. They can get the show. They can apply for my newsletter. We give away a monthly newsletter, which is chock full of all of the information that we're talking about here and a lot more. I talk about AI. I talk about globalization. We talk about the economy, environment, all of these things we cover in the newsletter. So it's about 20 pages of information from the most benign. We have food for thought. It's just, and it's really, it's an amazing newsletter, if I do say so myself. Of course, I'm not the one that writes the whole thing. So, but it's a really amazing newsletter with a lot of information.
Brilliant. We get them checked out. And a question I have, because the name of the show is called Breakthrough Brands, how do you market yourself?
We have an awesome marketing, my CMO, Rachel Calderon. We market through podcasts, through our streaming show. We have a live streaming show. We're on all of the social medias, and I do a lot of speaking, training, workshops, and this is how I market myself.
Excellent. From all them, people get in touch with you and want to know more, get more information.
Absolutely.
Excellent. And what song would you like us to play out with?
Happy. Yes.
Okay, we'll play out with that. Nilda, it's been a pleasure speaking to you here on Breakthrough Brands. We do chat on Facebook and we do chat on LinkedIn. I've started throwing up a few videos myself on LinkedIn, which I think you've seen. My beautiful kids.
Yes, beautiful family.
Very funny video. And we've just launched our own new website as well, Breakthrough Brands, and that's jdc.ie. So if you get a chance, have a look at that. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Talk to you soon. Thank you for coming on.
Okay, thank you for having me.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like
This show was sponsored by Harris Myers, your sales and marketing agency, helping you develop a better sales and marketing pipeline.